we go. Oh, loud. Okay, what is up, everybody, and welcome to Doghouse. This is the very first episode of a brand new podcast project show we are starting together. My name is Rob. I'm 25 years old, college student. A little bit about me. My background is in fitness. I'm getting my degree in exercise science, actually, so very passionate about that. Also business, art, and my co-host here with me hosting the show, my younger sister.
My name is Emma. I am a 20-year-old college student. Rob and I actually attend the same university. I am also really into fitness. My older brother, I will credit with getting me initially into lifting and the gym by telling me I had no muscle mass on my body and I was weak and frail.
Had to bring her into the light. Tough love.
So that really did it for me.
She hated me for a while for it, but we can
now I appreciate
have
it.
a good laugh now.
And so we actually both ended up working at the same gym. We're coworkers, supervisors, so that's a lot of fun. And we get to be in a gym all the time, which is great.
Yeah, it's awesome. And yeah, so clearly we share some common interests, a lot of opinions. So we decided to start this show as a platform of talking about things we like, things we don't like.
Society, art, music,
life, business,
any and all of the above. Just our opinions and takes on things, pretty much.
Yeah. So again, thank you for joining us, and hope you like the show. So let's go ahead and jump into the very first topic of the very first show, which is going to have everything to do with creativity. This is a topic we decided to talk about for the first show because it's something that is it's a topic that's very near and dear to our hearts, to say the least. It's been very close and integral to our personal growth, our journeys, and we have a lot to say about it, and we feel like we have some valuable takes. So let's go ahead and get into what is creativity.
Yeah, let's jump into it. So creativity is something that's super multifaceted and different for everyone. It's not something that's able to be exactly studied or measured, but the neuroscience of it is able to be observed, and it's quite interesting. We're able to find some information just about how creativity works in the brain. And how it works is two of your primary neural networks, so your default network and executive network, which have very different functions.
Yeah, let's explain those networks.
So we're going to explain them really fast. So the default network is activated when you're kind of relaxing, daydreaming, anything like that, zoning out. And then your executive network is for quite the opposite. It's for when you are focused, paying attention. It has to do with memory and getting tasks done.
Yeah, organizational memory is a big component of that.
So when you are in the creative process, these two networks actually have to learn how to work together, which is super interesting to learn because they don't work together for anything else ever, except for when you're being creative.
Yeah, and you could think about it in terms of, you said creative process, achieving a state of creativity essentially is when those two areas of the brain, those two different networks, which are normally completely unrelated, will come together. So essentially, even based on the scientific definition, creativity is kind of an unnatural phenomenon.
Yeah, so our take from this is that creativity is learned, and it doesn't come naturally to quite literally anyone. Despite what we may think or some of the ideas we had about creativity growing up, or just when we were younger.
No, exactly. We have a very personal journey with creativity specifically, and just off of that, creativity is not something that comes naturally was our conclusion, right? And growing up, we've talked about it since being adults, but that is something that we struggled with and have since overcame in a way.
Yeah, our entire views on creativity, what it is, and its, how it's part of our daily lives has changed so much, just because of how we've explored it, and our opinions have changed on it. So we do want to talk about a little bit our personal creative journeys, and just from a young age, kind of how we viewed it and how that's changed specifically.
Yeah, no, exactly. So let's get into it. We're gonna talk about our childhood.
Yeah,
Basically,
we're on a podcast and we are now talking about our childhood. It's crazy. I know.
Here we go. So, growing up, here's some context. We have an older sister. She's wonderful, amazing, great, and extremely artistically talented, gifted, and has developed that and worked very hard at that for most of her life, to where she is just a very, 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 I don't know, highly talented artist in any regard.
Yeah, so she has worked super hard in her career, but just in high school she was naturally gifted, and from a very young age. So that natural artistic talent, Rob and I just grew up surrounded in, because she was in some high level art classes for a little bit in high school. So and neither of us had that traditional creative or artistic ability, not creative ability, just artistic.
And that's what we really want to highlight here.
Yeah.
We kind of mistook natural artistic talent and ability for creativity. We had them as the same thing in our heads. So yeah, for me, I saw my older sister achieving and creating these high level, incredibly beautiful works of art. I was nowhere near that level naturally. My traditional art media, drawing, painting, sculpting, crafting skills were quite below average. Coloring inside the lines, that was a challenge for me. I remember quite a bit. And me and Emma have talked about this since, and come to find out, she had a very similar experience, misunderstanding that innate artistic talent is not the same thing as being creative.
Oh. Growing up, like every other kid in public school, I had to take traditional art classes as electives, and I was awful at them. My art looked like just so terrible compared to everyone else's. So that was very discouraging, and I just accepted that I was not artistically talented, wasn't gonna get there ever.
Yeah, I can unfortunately relate quite a bit. I was not gifted as an artist growing up as a kid. Like I said, couldn't really color in the lines to save my life. In art class, I would feel very, very below the line, to say the least. And the thing you got to understand about art personalities when it comes to performance in school compared to others in general, if we're not good at the thing, kind of right off the bat, our egos aren't really going to let us do the thing.
No.
It's tough.
Especially when there were, some naturally gifted kids would just make stuff that looked really good. Didn't have that ability, so didn't really want to try.
So essentially, what we're trying to say is we misunderstood. We mistook our natural artistic talent and ability, traditional art skills, as creativity, and we just assumed, okay, maybe we're not creative, right?
Yeah, we kind of assumed the two were interchangeable, and that's kind of been my experience talking to people now,
Yes.
is that a lot of them aren't good at drawing and will admit to that, and that's okay. But I'm sure a lot of people felt the same way growing up. They weren't creative because they couldn't draw.
Yeah,
or-
yeah. Like you were saying, I talk to adults around my age now, mid 20s, who when I ask about hobbies, interests, specifically creative things, because I find that very interesting and valuable. Um, I find that a lot of people, if they weren't naturally gifted at it, dropped any creative pursuit altogether. Um, no, it's not for me. I'm not a good drawer. I wasn't good at art. Terrible drawer. Terrible painter. Oh, I'm so bad at drawing. I hear that one a lot. We're bad at drawing,
Yeah,
for sure.
and we are too. That was kind of our experience as young children, and we kind of had to relearn ourselves what creativity was. So as a
Yeah, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so for me, that kind of looked like in middle school, started getting into these English classes where we would do a lot of writing. And I enjoy writing quite a bit. My mother is a very talented published author. So she talked to me a little bit and kind of told me how I could use words to kind of paint a picture. And I could choose the specific words to make specific meaning, which helped me get these ideas in my head out and be creative as at that kind of young of an age. So I was able to use that to express myself a little.
Yeah. What Emma just said, using it to express herself. She found a creative outlet, if you will. I like to think about it more as she found the right avenue that allowed her to be creative and to communicate effectively the ideas from abstract thought to reality, to the physical. And that's sort of my personal definition of what being creative is. And there's massive, massive value in learning how to do that, how to communicate your ideas.
No, I think so too.
Yeah. And just to go along with your kind of the childhood experience of when I discovered kind of that avenue, writing was one for me as well. Like Emma was saying, our mother is a very talented writer, and not to flex here, but she did say we were the best two writers of the family. But beyond that, before that, when I was 12, 13 years old, Emma remembers this all too well because I undoubtedly roped her in. My first creative endeavor, project if you will, was making videos, filming little funny, really cringe skits with my brother, my sister, my cousin, film them and then edit them on iMovie. And that was my first real creative pursuit of, hey, I have this idea, and then at the end of the process, I am watching my idea in real time, and to me, that's something special, right?
Having a physical manifestation
Yes.
of something in your head is
There's
pretty.
power.
There's a lot of power
A
there.
lot of power there. Yeah, no, so much so to where that's a big reason why we wanted to talk about it and talk about sort of why it's important that people realize creativity is not just for gifted and talented artists out there at all.
Yeah, absolutely not. And you don't even have to have a lot of resources. A lot of times you just have to have like a computer. As we've grown up, we still do these things that we did in childhood, but we've explored more with the digital side of media and that aspect of creativity. So just a lot of Photoshop, Illustrator, just a lot of digital things.
Media,
which is super fun because it's really easy to learn and then you can do whatever with it. So that has been kind of how we've evolved in our creativity.
How we've non-traditionally kind of developed and discovered ways of being creative that work for us. And the reason why we're saying all of this is because we want to get the message out there that, yeah, anybody can really have an idea. And with technology or with all these non-traditional avenues, anybody can find a way that works for them to communicate it.
Creativity is 100% accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
And it's just about finding, what kind of your niche is, what things you want to put out into the world, and then figuring out the best way to do that.
Yeah, and another reason why we think it's so important is because like I was saying earlier, I talked to a lot of adults my age who have moved away from more creative endeavors, the not for me kind of mentality, where comparing it to adults like our older sister who I know who have these creative works and this creative side to showcase to the world, it makes a difference in how people see you in terms of your character, in terms of who you are and your journey. You can speak to that as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think big part of me kind of understanding my sister and her whole kind of life journey, what she's been through, and how she's kind of why she is the way who she is, why she is the way she is, has been through her art and seeing the big installations that she's done over the years, and also how her art has evolved over the years. And I think that is the purest representation of her.
It's a literal representation.
Is her art, and I think that's beautiful, and
truly
it's
is
just the best way it's the best way for her to show the world kind of who she is, and I think it's invaluable that she does that, with her time.
100%. I see some of the massive metal sculpture work she does. It's crazy, and it's a 1-for-1 representation of where she's at and who she's become, and it's that sort of recognition that led us to decide to share this message and essentially talk more about the importance and value of being creative in any way you can.
Yeah, absolutely, because I'm sure Rob has said this at some point, but everyone has good ideas. There's no limit on good ideas, and it's just so important to get them out there. I think one of the main reasons is because it's a way to show your character, like Rob was saying as well, show the world who you are, and it's the best. It's my favorite way to get to know someone. As Rob was talking about his making these videos, I was remembering that they were my favorite thing to go back and watch, because just because they were a way for me to connect with my older brother, and they kind of showed who he was, and creating things, putting them out to the world is the best way to show people who you are and connect with them, I think.
It's so hard to kind of put into words the feeling you get when you successfully pull it off. That's the idea I had, and now I'm looking at it in the real world. That's what we're getting at. And just as sort of, to put it out there, anyone listening, we would encourage maybe try being a little more creative, or maybe work on an idea, anything really.
Yeah, and not to say that any of this is going to be easy.
No.
Of course it takes time and practice, and as we said earlier, it's literally not human nature to be creative. So you're going to have to work at it and use that muscle, get good at it.
Consistency.
Practice being open with yourself, and then putting that out into the world. Find a way that works for you, but it's not going to be easy, and you're going to be scared to put it out the first few times.
That's a huge point I want to reiterate. It is so scary to express yourself truly creatively. It feels very vulnerable in a way,
especially in today's world, because everyone puts so much out there on social media and the internet. There is just so much content out there, and you just can't let yourself start comparing what you're going to put out to what's already out there, because it's not about that.
No.
This is about self-expression.
It's about you.
People will relate if you put out creative works that are truly yourself. People will be able to relate to them, I promise.
People can pick up on that.
But you have to be genuine and not compare yourself or what you're putting out to anything else, because that's not important.
That's not what it's about. Like we're saying, there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to creativity. The only right answer is, was that truly how you felt, and was that true to yourself, your idea? It's not about comparing. It's not. Essentially. Go ahead and wrap this up.
So we would challenge everyone who listened to this week to maybe have one idea solidified in your head. Try one little thing this week. Get one thing started on a creative process, something that you can work on just for yourself. I promise it's rewarding and it's worth it. And we wouldn't have spent our whole first podcast talking about it if this wasn't we didn't think it was super valuable knowledge.
Hit the nail on the head. 100% agree. Like it can be as easy as, do you own a MacBook? Maybe open up GarageBand or iMovie, see what's up.
Yeah.
And that's
honestly.
And that is the message we kind of wanted to leave with you guys today.
Thank you so much for listening to our first podcast. If you liked the kind of content that you're seeing, or us, or the topic, please let us know.
Definitely.
Stay tuned, and we will be putting out lots more in the near future.
Very soon.
So
go ahead and subscribe, follow, whatever you got to do. And thank you so much for checking out Doghouse. This was episode 1. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Hey, bud. Please.
Please.
Yes! Money.